Okay, greetings from Govardhan, and the lights are off, the inverter is broken, so it's going to be a very mystical type class. And what I'm going to do today is, well, let me explain. Prabhupāda's disappearance festival, Govardhana-pūjā, there's nothing like Govardhan. It's amazing. Even my own day, I got up early and chanted, and then at 10:30 I went to Śrīla Prabhupāda, and I gave a class for about an hour and 15 minutes, 15 points that I was to cover. I knew I would only cover half of them. And then right after that, I went, from there, I went to the Govardhan, from Śrīla Prabhupāda to the Govardhan Retreat Center in Burijan, Śrīla Swami by the side of the hill. We had Abhishek. Then I came back here and had the feast from ISKCON. And then after that, I'm so confused now. I got two things. Wait, Prabhupāda's, oh no, that was Govardhana-pūjā. Prabhupāda's disappearance festival, right. So I was Rupa Seva Kunj, then I had the feast there, then I just came back here and I gave a class for an hour and a half. But it's really amazing because before I was to give class at Sri Rupa Seva Kunj, Mandakini, who's the first devotee really to preach in Russia, from French lady, and Malati and Jayashri, they just gave, and then they went, Radhanath Swami's Pandal, 15,000 people. I heard it's worth it just to see what the Pandal looks like, what to speak of hearing his 4-hour class. But they told me they even have a children's section with a swimming pool and boats. I couldn't imagine, but it was huge. And they had Prabhupada, and here at the ISKCON place, like Sheshika Bruce Sachinanda were there for that, and then in the place where Prabhupada disappeared in Vrindavan. So within a short 30-minute radius, there's just so much going on. Yeah. So I was so happy because I got to speak for, see, I'm looking now and see what I look like with the beard here. I'm looking into the thing. This is what I look like. It kind of goes through stages. It goes through like cool gruff to like Gaudiya Mat Sannyasi. And then it comes to Ted Kaczynski, the Mad Palmer. When I grew up, there was a famous guy, Ted Kaczynski, the Mad Bomber. They finally found him in Montana. So that's when that like it goes out like this, and then it's time to shave. Otherwise, if I'm in a humorous mood, okay? This is different moods. Otherwise, when it comes to December, I'll go to Macy's and do Santa Claus. I'm shaving tomorrow. Okay, it's. Oh, I got to turn up the volume for myself. Okay. So what we're going to do today is the people that are sitting here. I have a nice audience here. I think they all heard me give class. So I'm going to give the class again, which means it becomes clearer, but at the same time, there were many points that I didn't cover. And I'm not only going to explain the class, I'm going to explain to you here, not here, but here, what the class was like, and also explain a little bit. So let me get my notes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's kind of a drag not seeing the audience, so I hope the lights go on. What? No, it's okay. It's I thought we should buy some big candles. Okay. You know, because these little things are not good. So basically, I had a strategy for the class, and I did it at Govardhana-pūjā, and it worked. I think the first thing in speaking, especially to an audience of variety, is to get them active rather than passive. Passive is, you quote the book. So the way I did that is in Govardhana-pūjā is I had a list of topics and I had the audience choose on Govardhan Hill. And I did the same thing with Prabhupada's appearance day, except I told them which ones I was going to choose, and I wasn't going to be able to cover them all. So maybe in this class today, because I'll explain a little bit what I did and I'll cover some of the subjects that I didn't. But one thing that I started with that I thought was kind of interesting is one of the subjects was the Shastric predictions of Srila Prabhupada's success and the acharyas who confirmed it. So I had many, many scriptures that profoundly what a dramatic entrance. Wow, it's a standing room only crowd here. So I won't go over, but the different references, it's so clearly predict Prabhupada. And of course, one of the most prominent ones is the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Prithivitiyati ati naga. My name will be chanted in every town and village. It's a prediction. Or let's say, if it didn't predict Prabhupada, it predicted what would happen, and Prabhupada was the one who fulfilled it. So that's for sure. And there were discussions among Vaishnavas. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I'm not going to read everything, but a personality will soon appear, will travel across the seas to preach the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his book, the Bhagavat, its ethics and theology, arrived in North America at McGill University in the year that Prabhupada was born. When I first, you see, it'll be more spontaneous, but when I first came to Krishna consciousness, 1970, I was visiting the San Francisco temple, and there's this devotee, Lochan, who made the Prabhupada deities. I think he's still alive. That was his contribution. He would bring out these articles by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. The Bhagavats in ethics, it's wow. I mean, the intellectual content. In fact, believe it or not, I had a friend with me who joined, and he was very literary. And he was translating to me the article from the English to the English. But it was so brilliant and so deep. So he wrote that. And in Chaitanya Mangala by Lochan Das Thakur, that's the famous quote that a Senapati Bhakta, I have a disciple named Senapati Bhakta. I named him that because his name was Scott and they put the S, but because his hobby was those Civil War reenactments where you get into the uniform so he had that kind of spirit. Senapati Bhakta will come and deliver his message. So that was pretty one. And then there's from the Bhagavat Mahatmya, the story of Bhakti Devi going from Karnataka to South India, where it traveled from Ramanuja to Madhva. And then, it came to Vrindavan to get rejuvenated, and its sons of Bhakti, Vasudeva, Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga, Piyojita, of Jnana and Karma were near dead. And then this verse was there, Idam Stanam, Parityaja, you'll go, Videsham, you'll go to the foreign countries and deliver them from Maya. Idam Stanam, you're here now, but you'll go. I think it was with Narada Muni. So that also, I'm not, I'm getting into different things, but there was that verse in the Bhagavatam that one of my godbrothers had that revelation, directly predicted Prabhupada, because no one else ever fit the description of what Narada Muni's description of what the Bhagavatam could do. And what it said was, Tadvag Visargo, Narada Muni to Vyas, he's telling him, you should glorify Krishna in the Bhagavatam. Tadvag Visargo. Visargo means a creation. So this will be a different creation. Tadvag Visargo, Janatagna, the sinful people, Viprala, Janatagna Viprala will cause a revolution of sinful people. Yasmin Prati Shlokam, Abhadavat Yapi, even though each and every sloka will be imperfectly composed. And his point, which is a brilliant point, there's never been a Bhagavatam that's imperfectly composed, because it's done by Sanskrit scholars. So it's never imperfectly composed. So why is this? The only Bhagavatam that was imperfectly composed is Prabhupada's translation into English, which had grammatical rules that, because it was a second language. And which Bhagavatam caused a revolution in the Janatagna in the world. That was, so he predicted it. Then I also mentioned Prabhupada's disappearance festival, 11 days after he disappeared, that I met Jayapataka Swami, and he had just had a call from Srila Sridhar Maharaj that said that Prabhupada was the Shaktivesh avatar for preaching. And Shaktivesh avatar means that one is invested with the potency of God to do something with the power and to do it exactly as God would do it. And so I had, that, of course, Prithu, he was ruling the work as if God was doing it. Veda Vyas Shaktivesh avatar for editing. He was editing the Vedas as if Krishna was editing the Vedas. And for preaching, Prabhupada for preaching, Shaktivesh avatar. So I always had that image. If Lord Chaitanya came, the story couldn't have been better. And it couldn't be better. And after that, I wanted to show how it couldn't be better. And one of the topics was Srila Prabhupada's humor, the two funniest stories you've ever heard. And I can tell them again because they're so relishable, but it fit in. Because, Prabhupada's revolution in impious people, if you understand his initial clientele, it was actually, it's interesting though too, but because it was a mixed bunch, but a lot of the hippies were also from good families, powerful people, etc. But so these two stories told to me, one by Nayana Baram, who was in 26 Second Avenue. This lady joins, she gets initiated, her name is Madhavalata. I don't know what's politically correct, so someone can write me a note later if I've offended someone. But when I grew up, they were called dykes. Now, it was women who were butch, I guess heavy, they were like men. So this lady joined, and after 6 months, she came to Prabhupada, and she said, "Can I speak to Prabhupada?" And they said, "Yes." And she said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, "What?" He said, "I just can't stand worshiping that man, Krishna." Prabhupada said, "That's okay, we worship Radha." So it kind of gets a chuckle, even though this group here heard it before. And then the other one is like so wild. And I heard of this person, Louis Abalafio, and he ran for president on the Naked Party. It's wild, isn't it? Yeah, there's a post of him, and he's naked except he has a hat that covers his private parts. And his slogan is, you can tell it 1,000,000 times, his slogan is, "We have nothing to hide." And then Satyajit Maharaj was telling me this, and he said also, this guy came up with the theory that you could smoke banana peels and get high.
Wikipedia said he died from overdose.
What?
He died from overdose or something like that. Poor guy at age
15. And then the devotees used to give him the banana peels. So he invited Prabhupada to speak at their convention. So Prabhupada walked in, and Satyajit Maharaj described it, that people were dressed as bananas and half naked and dancing wildly, right? And they said Prabhupada walked in, he didn't bat an eyelash, he spoke for a short while and left. And then he's back there, and one devotee sits with Prabhupada and said, actually, he's not eligible to run for president because he's too young. And Satyajit Maharaj said Prabhupada was belly laughing, because Prabhupada was thinking in his mind, as if that's the reason why he's not qualified to run for president, because he's too young. So anyway, it just shows, and now I can speak spontaneous, and I always like one Prabhupada disappearance day, Burjampu brought this slideshow. And it showed, it began with showing the Earth planet to like Jupiter. And it's the Earth planet, if you see it, it's like a dot compared to Jupiter. It's like a dot. He said, this is amazing. Then Jupiter compared to the universe. Then it's like a dot compared to the universe. Then the universe, and after everything, Burjan's slideshow said, this is amazing, this is amazing. And then showed the universe to the galaxy. And it was just like a speck. And he said, this is amazing. And then he showed above it all is Goloka Vrindavan with Radha and Krishna. And he said, this is amazing. Then he shows, he shows a picture of the devotees in 26 Second Avenue and said Prabhupada was giving that to them. and he said, that is amazing. Have you ever seen that? The early films where Kirtananda says we're all gopis? You ever see that?
No.
You should look at the original films. You can get them on YouTube.
I've seen some old dogs.
Yeah, the old films, and it's just amazing. I remember Achyutananda, there's a professor, what was his name? He was very favorable to the devotees, and he studied Indology. And I forgot what his name is. He's a very nice man.
Is he still alive?
What?
Is he still alive?
He passed away just about 2 years ago. But there was a conference on Prabhupada at Harvard, and he came. I can't understand why I can't remember his name. But they interviewed him, Tom Hopkins. And they interviewed him, and he said, I heard that there was this East Indian religion, and then, in the Lower East Side, and I've been studying it, he's describing it. And he went in, and he said they didn't know anything, right? So it's a video of Achyutananda saying, some people are low on a high platform, and some people are high on a low platform. And he's going on and on, and Tom Hopkins said, he said they didn't know what they were talking about. So Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada lived with this guy, David, that was, freaked out on LSD, and it's just, and then this guy, well, the first guy that Prabhupada met was this guy, Robert Nelson. He was the most unlikely candidate for even for being a hippie. I think he grew up on a tugboat or something, or a carnival or something. Robert Nelson. And I think he used to bring Prabhupada some things. And one day he walked into the Brooklyn Temple and he said, I'm Robert, Prabhupada's friend. And then amazing. And Rabindra Saruprabhu, who is my neighbor upstate, a wonderful Vaishnav, retired now in Mayapur, he had a way of, he was very witty. He said, the problem with the Hare Krishna movement is that Prabhupada was the only adult. And it was all these young people under 20 and fired up and and I remember that one of BTJ article, I spoke about this in my Vyas Puja, where I heard that Satru Maharaj was 40 years old. I said, my God, how can anybody be so old? Sorry. So, Paul Mundry, okay. But you're actually 14 and a half. But it's just amazing. It's just amazing in the Lower East Side, and I tell that story. Prabhupada is in really a bad neighborhood, and Prabhupada's in 22nd Avenue. He's giving a class, and then outside there's screeching, and then Prabhupada's saying to himself, "Why have I come to this place?" Well, because there was nothing commensurate with what his stature was with the place you are. Especially when you're older, you generally get to pick the place where you want to. 26 Second Ave. And Harisari said, I think in his diary, that Prabhupada used to go every week and check the Scindia steamship when the next ship is leaving. Because it was such a shock, and then the winter and it's so interesting. Prabhupada was walking down the street, and Hayagriva, I knew Hayagriva. I knew Hayagriva. He was the first literary person. And there were hippies in the Lower East Side on Mott Street with Kirtanananda and Umapati. And if you ever really want to watch something, look up Challenge My Sermon, where this devotee Umapati is put in the circle, and there's like a rabbi and and they challenge your sermon. And even Kirtananda Swami told me, don't argue with Umapati. It's really amazing. Anyway, he was 6'5". His grandson actually became an offensive lineman for the New York Giants. This is details people don't know. But he was 6'5" and had a beard. And then he had just come from India. They went to India and they came back, and he saw Prabhupada, and he looked at Prabhupada. He said, "Are you from India?" And Prabhupada said, "Are you from India?" Prabhupada thought he was a Punjabi because he had like this big beard and he was so big. But when this person died in New Vrindavan from cancer, and Satyaraj went to visit him, and his spine was like eggshells, and he's lying on his back, And, you know, he kind of was in and out and, you know, didn't have the cleanest record in many ways, you know. But then he winds up in New Vrindavan, and he looks at Satyaraj, and he said, and he was an English professor. So he said, a 70-year-old Bengali comes to America with books in English, and who is the first person he meets? An English professor. And then he looked up and he said, I was touched by the hand of God. It's just an amazing story. Okay, and then this is a subject I didn't cover. What made Prabhupada Prabhupada? Prabhupada, the master who other masters sit. What made Prabhupada Prabhupada? And there's two stories, two things that come to mind. The first thing that comes into mind is the depth of Prabhupada's realization. According to the definition of realization that's in the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's commentaries, that realization means the ability to communicate. Why? Because it means you understand the subject so deeply that you can reform the subject to fit the frame of reference of your audience without losing the meaning. And if you don't understand that subject deeply, you can't do that. And it comes from the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said, he must realize the subject so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstance in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. Yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. So there's two stories. One, 11 days after Prabhupada passed away, they have a function. And this is beautiful psychology, that when someone leaves the world, who's a Vaishnava, it's Nitya Lila Pravishta. Nitya Lila, you enter into Nitya Lila. It's a very glorious thing. But you can't celebrate it because you have to feel separation. Not for the person, but for yourself. So there's a period of mourning of 11 days, and then after that you can have a celebration. This is the. So they're organizing it. There was no Prabhupada Samadhi, obviously, and one of Prabhupada's godbrothers in an Indian function, there must be someone who presides to represent that knowledge is descending. So you have to, and it may be just a table and a little glass with a flower before him, but they'll honor someone. So one of Prabhupada's godbrothers was invited, and he was famous for going to the West before Prabhupada. And he had brought back 2 German devotees. Lost Journey to India, I've read this book.
Yes.
Incredible. And he comes back with these 2 German devotees, and there's even a picture, it looks like Prabhupada's greeting him also in the crowd, but he's glorified. And then Prabhupada goes to the West and brings back hundreds and hundreds of people, right? So that was his ego, right? Or whatever it is. So he gets up there and he says something that seems to be criticizing Prabhupada. He said, I could have done what the Swami has done, but I didn't have the mentality to preach to the hippies. He was an aristocratic Brahmin, you know. And I remember when I heard it, I think Brahmananda was ready to throw him off the stage. you know, some of the Prabhupada Nugas. And when I heard it, I understood that Goddess Saraswati takes insults to Krishna and his devotees and turns them around by use of language to be compliments. Like, for example, Sishapal called Krishna the lowest of all men. But you can break it up another way to say one who makes everyone else go down. So Goddess Saraswati can use the language. So I took it, that was a great compliment, because what was the mentality to preach to the hippies? It was the highest degree of realization, so that you can take this subject. I give it another and communicate. It's unbelievable who he communicated and inspired. But another thing that happened, I was on the West Coast, and I'm not a West Coast guy. I could just tell you that. I'm an East Coast guy. We're authentic, we're honest, we speak straight. None of this have a nice day stuff. But, so I was on the West Coast, and an ISKCON sannyasi comes that I knew, and he describes how he took this famous Goswami from Vrindavan on a tour, who was favorable to ISKCON and everything, on a tour. I said, how did he do? He said, well, they couldn't understand his high language. And what I realized is he didn't have the realization to actually communicate it. I mean, it's just amazing how Prabhupada was able to communicate to these people. And I remember one devotee, you remember him, he used to be here, his name was Vishal. And he was such a character. He was such a character. So dedicated to Prabhupada. And he was a fuller brush salesman in San Francisco. And he took so many trips of LSD that there's 2 years of his life that's completely missing. But he does remember coming to Prabhupada. He got a Bhagavad Gita and he read it stoned out of his mind. And he came up to Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, I read your Bhagavad Gita and it blew my mind. And he distributed books up to the age of 83. He died in Vrindavan. He was always distributing books. And I could tell stories about him that would blow your mind too. He gave so many books to Indira Gandhi. She said, okay, I have them, enough. He could get in anywhere. I mean, it was such, one time, this person, the Sringa Rao, he later was the prime minister, he was the minister of defense. And that's when the whole thing was going on with Aritsa, and they bombed the Golden Temple and the thing. And I'm just sure who Prabhupada was preaching to. And he came to the Sringa Rao. No one could stop this guy. And he came to the Sringa Rao and he asked for some kind of extension. And the Sringa Rao said, come on, I'm just in this middle of this crisis. And he gets upset with the Sringa Rao and said, I gave you Mahaprasadam. So, and the second thing that I think the quality of Prabhupada that made Prabhupada was his faith. And Bhaktivedanta Swami tells one story he heard about Prabhupada, where Prabhupada had come back to Calcutta, successful, the first time back, and people were like visiting him. And Prabhupada was sitting and thinking, how was I the lucky one? Now, I studied the Gaudiya Math, and Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, it was like an all-stars team of high exalted souls, mostly Brahmins and Kshatriyas. And they were amazing personalities. I mean, Bhakti Dayata Madhav Maharaj, he was a Brahmin family. This guy was powerful. Bhaktisiddhanta called him the indefatigable incarnation of preaching. He opened up 64 temples. Ananta Vasudev, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could give a lecture and then leave, and even if it's in English, he can continue it in the same way. He was so, Sridhar Maharaj, the ability to conceptualize and express philosophy. Keshava Maharaj and his brother, Odalomi Maharaj, Kshatriya families. I mean, the stories about these people. Bhakti, who initiated Prabhupada's sister, Bhakti Saranga Maharaj, he was in charge of the railway. You know, there was such, Prabhupada saying, like, how was I the lucky one? How was I the lucky one? And then Prabhupada said, because I had 100% faith in the order of my spiritual master. And then Prabhupada started talking about this verse by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vivasayat Mika Budhya Eke Ha Kurunandana Bhushaka Yanantascha, that Vivasayat Mika Budhya, really fixed intelligence, is bhakti. And in the purport, it says, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes that this means to take the order of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. Prabhupada credits reading that purport for taking, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta's instructions that you're an intelligent man, you should, you know, spread Krishna consciousness in the English language. So that was one subject I didn't care. Prabhupada as a visionary, I really feel we dropped the ball on a lot of things, because Prabhupada was into so many things at that time that are absolute cutting edge now. Sustainable living. Prabhupada's talking about this in 1966, Gita Nagari, sustainable living. We dropped the ball. You know, if we would have really got land and established that, and in fact, in Prabhupada's last days, what did he say he was doing? He was coming back to Gita Nagari to teach people how to live off the land. And, you know, he didn't really feel, he felt it'd be very difficult for most people to become Krishna conscious working outside in the modern world. So Prabhupada was like a real visionary, and we didn't pick up on that. Kirtan. Kirtan. We picked up on that. We really did a good job on that. But that was cutting edge. Indian philosophy, culture, vegetarianism. You know, Prabhupada was really a kind of a visionary. And then I spoke on one thing, the mind of Srila Prabhupada. I could speak it about again. And I thought this was really, it was my own experience. I started to teach Brahman Vimohan Leela, and I was absolutely astounded by the depth of the purports, practically more than any other purports that I've read by Prabhupada. And then I realized he spoke this lying on his bed in his last days. And what it entailed is, if he was fully healthy, there was, I think, a 10 commentary Bhagavatam. He had to read all 10 commentaries and then speak. No one writes like this. And then just speak. His purports are spoken. So 10 and he's doing this lying on his bed in his last days. And you see that picture of Jayadvaita Maharaj with the microphone and Pradumna with the Bhagavatam. So it was quite amazing he did that. And then in those purports, which I don't have the notes here, he says many personal things. He says many personal things. One day someone should go through Prabhupada's books and take out, when he's speaking about the world as it is, but he was speaking about Vrindavan. he was speaking about Raman Redi and how beautiful it was, and the peacocks, and then there's in this Brahma Vimohan Leela, when all the cowboys and calves manifest these Vishnu forms. It's described that Vishnu has red eyes and his teeth are white and smiling. And it gives this description that the red eyes is spiritual passion, which means it gives you the desire to serve. And the white teeth are, it's in Prabhupada's purport, material goodness. It gives you the ability to maintain. And then Prabhupada said, he talked about the Krishna Balar Mandir. There was a tamal tree and a pure, and a devotee wished, let their, let it grow, and so it described, Prabhupada was actually describing his own spiritual passion and his own spiritual goodness. And he puts it in the purports. So I was figuring, why has Prabhupada done this? It must have been, when you get sick, you just want people to take care of you and shut up. And Prabhupada, and I just thought, and this is my own kind of speculation, and I thought, it's amazing. He completes the Kumar Leela completely. It ends with Brahma Vimohan Leela. And then I thought the main point in that Leela is what Brahma wanted to resolve in his mind, which is Yagyabhuk Balakeli. Is that boy eating with his friends just as a picnic? Is that boy Yagyabhuk? Is he God eating all the yagya, billions of ghee, swahas, or is he just a boy playing? And that story, more than any other story in the Bhagavatam, not only resolves it philosophically, but the story where Brahma sees who that young boy is, manifesting all these incredible Vishnu forms and all of the, and then at the end, he's just a boy again, just sitting in Vrindavan. So I thought that point, that Balakeli, the boy that plays, that's going to have relationships with the gopis, is not ordinary. It's such a strong point. And the purpose of the Brahma Vimohan Leela is to instill that point in you before you go to Poganda, where the gopis are introduced in Krishna's relationship with them. So I felt like that was Prabhupada's last bit of his compassion. Let me give my disciples this. And then this one sentence I find there, it's just hard to believe that this sentence is in Prabhupada's purports, because he's so cautious that we don't become sahajiyas. We take this cheaply because it conforms to the thing that we want most in the material world. And Prabhupada puts this little sentence in, inspiring his disciples to go deeper. Prabhupada writes, such purification can be achieved very easily by Radha Krishna Bhajan. Has Prabhupada ever mentioned Radha Krishna Bhajan in his purports? Do you know if he stressed Radha Krishna Bhajan? You know what the Russian yatra would be like right now? You don't know how many people come into my room that saw Krishna, and they're all from Russia. I never had an American come in and say to me, I had a darshan. And just the other day, someone came in my room, he wants to share with me. I saw Krishna, and he spoke to me. And what's the scary part? Sometimes it seems legitimate. And then I spoke on Prabhupada's Antya-lila. And those of you know on my my WhatsApp group, Lal Govinda found a picture of me when Prabhupada was coming back to Vrindavan to leave the world. And I'm in the right-hand corner with my hands folded. I'll make a joke, just like my deity at Mahabhavdham. So I spoke extensively on that. I don't think I'll have time to speak on that now. But my God, the first time Prabhupada came and he chanted that verse, I'm there. There's not many people in the room. When one comes to die, let him come to Vrindavan. Everything is there. The white sands of Raman Reti, the Jamuna. I remember he mentioned that. Then he said, but what is death but a change of body? And then Prabhupada said, Deheno spin yata dehe komaran yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dir. As the embodied soul passes from childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, simply at the time of death, accepts another body. Self-realized soul is not bewildered by a change. And then I'm in the room when Prabhupada leaves the world. And the room was packed, but not packed. But the whole room was filled. And that's about how many devotees were in the project. And I'm there, and Gauravani's father, Bhadaraj, is on Prabhupada's bed singing kirtan, Hare Krishna mantra. And when someone passes away at the end, and I've been there, there's no call and response. The feelings is too emotional. So everybody's just chanting. And then, this is my own image of it. At the moment Prabhupada passed away, it was immediately confirmed in everyone's heart. And I had this image, you have images according to your past samskaras. So I had an image almost that there was no roof on his house, the ceiling, there's no ceiling, it's just sky. This thing, and you go back to heaven. And I was hearing, I don't know if it's Handel's Messiah, I was hearing the kirtan almost was like, dun, 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 like glorious, like that Prabhupada's leaving. And then I remember this devotee from Venezuela, Godbrother Nilamani, he just faints on the floor. And then the next image I had, it's when Leah Harvey Oswald, who was accused of shooting John F. Kennedy, was shot in the police station by this Jack Ruby, and then this chaos that breaks out. So I had this sense, it's like chaos, because who's in charge now? Tamal Krishna Maharaj took charge, that's for sure. And then they bring Prabhupada's body to the temple, put it on the Vyasasan, and then all the Vaishnavas come. The Raya Maharaj comes, Seshayi Brahmacharya, Kinchana Krishnadas Babaji, and they're doing kirtan all night. But that was the first time, and then I described that Prabhupada somehow or other goes out again. And then has to come back, and I'm there when he's coming in, and then he quotes this verse by King Kulashekar, and it's really like humble. Niranjan Swami, he read to me his Vyasa Puja speech, very beautiful, about the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, how every devotee that Narada Muni meets, who's pure, has dainya, utter humility. And it's where you feel yourself the lowest of the low, although objectively everyone, even though you have so many great qualities and everyone can see that. So he was telling many stories of Prabhupada having that same kind of expression. I remember one time Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and he was talking about first-class men, society needs first-class men. And then in the audience, someone challenged him and said, what class are you, Swamiji? Prabhupada said, I'm 5th class, I served the other 4 classes. So there was, and then Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada in Dallas, Srila Prabhupada in JFK. I remember I met devotees in 1970, but I don't know, I went to the Sunday feast, but Prabhupada was there, but he wasn't giving the class. And what I remember is, where the temple is, they used to have church pews. Again, Prabhupada was cutting edge. He said, don't remove the church pews. Have people come, and we became inspired, but we didn't meet Prabhupada. And then the next summer, 1971, I was working, doing inventory in the warehouse of a department store. I was really good at it. They wanted me to quit school and be a manager. But I took a day off and I heard Prabhupada was coming, and in that days you could hitchhike. Even
nowadays.
What?
Still nowadays you can do it, not as much, but...
No, not in America, like, it used to be very, very common. So me and my friend, the Temkin, we stuck out our thumbs, and I think Kennedy Airport, I don't think it's more than 15 minutes from where I lived. And we got there, there's no TSA. You go right in. And then Prabhupada was coming off the plane from like a top thing and walking downstairs. And, Prabhupada said the beautiful American boys and girls, and they were in their saris and dhotis and shaved heads. It was really, I don't know, that spirit. Really cool people were the people out on the streets. And, Baba Ananda, who, he's a good leader in his way, and he was organizing, he told the devotees it should be very melodic when Prabhupada comes. And I remember that melody as Prabhupada's walking down the stairs, and it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Jai Prabhupada, Jai. And then this is the first vision I had of Prabhupada. It's amazing. One of the first books that was printed was Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And it probably is one of the most esoteric books that was ever produced. But in it had the 26 qualities of a pure devotee. So I was studying them, and this is true. Because I was from New York, I couldn't understand what the quality offenseless means. I had no frame of reference. What does offenseless mean? I couldn't understand. What does this offenseless mean? I remember, what is this? Offenseless. That's how we show love. And then when Prabhupada was coming down, he waved his hand very gently. I said, oh, that's offenseless. And then, of course, Prabhupada comes down, he walks real fast. And then I've told this story many times, but some of you may not have heard this. My parents didn't at all like that I was going to Hare Krishna. And they didn't even know I was still going, maybe. I don't know. But what happened was the next night, that night, it was on the 11 o'clock news.
They saw you.
then I just remember one of the most famous newscasters was named Harry Reasoner. So he came next. And after they showed this, the guy said, and now, hooray, Reasoner with the news. And then the next day, I wish someone saved this, the centerfold of the New York Daily News. You know, now it's like 150,000 copies. There was no internet, 5 million copies. The largest circulated newspaper in the world. All the centerfold were pictures of Prabhupada. And they had one where Prabhupada's walking and his disciples are facing him, following him. And it goes through both pages and it says, Asta Sata Sata Sisi Mad 108, Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Swami, Śrīla Prabhupāda, Ki Jai. And then it says, what a trip, boom, exclamation point. Then there's another one. What a picture of Prabhupada, like it was aristocratic, his head was up like this. And there's a river in Georgia, not the Russian Georgia, but the Atlanta, Georgia, the American Georgia. And there was a famous song about the river Swanee. There's a Swanee River. And Al Jolson, who was like the most famous singer at that time, 100 years ago, used to sing a song, Swanee, Swanee, how they love you, how they love you. So it said, Swami, Swami. So it was really, wow, what to speak of Prabhupada, the first Rath Yatra down Fifth Avenue. I can't believe that they got permission for that. Because that's hundreds of thousands. They closed down the whole Fifth Avenue for the Hare Krishnas in 1976. The devotee went there. He told them, what's the parade about? We're just going to push 3 cars down. Then the police see these huge things. And I'll just tell my favorite. These New York City policemen, right? When the devotees was so dynamic and they got arrested, and I'm going to finish up here. They got arrested on the there's a Kartik one too. They got arrested on, for distributing or soliciting. And while they're devotees getting arrested, he's reciting the whole Damodar Astakam in English, right? And after the policeman writes the whole ticket, he looks up and says, what's a bimba fruit? Because it says, Mother Yasoda, he listened to the whole thing. This one I can't repeat because it's got bad language, but one policeman was coming every single year, right? And they noticed every single year he came. And finally, he gave him, you just fill in the blank, okay? I'm not going to say the word. He gave him the highest compliment. He said, you chant that all the time? Anyway, okay. Wow, I went a little bit over. Anybody like to say hello? Gail, you there? No, she's not there either. Okay, anybody like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yogamaya Shakti, Haribo.
Haribo, thank you so much for class.
Okay.
It's really good.
Anybody else?
Hey, Krishna
Raja.
Gurudev, Yavat Sundari is here. Thank you very much for the class.
Haribo, Braja. What are you doing there? I thought you were going to be in Govardhan.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
You're leaving tomorrow. Okay.
Yes. But I'm going with Raghunath, so I'll be in Govardhan in November.
What's that on his nose?
Oh,
It's a thing to breathe. I've been pretty sick.
it's to open up his airway.
Okay. Wow. Sorry to hear that. I
Thank
thought
you.
it was some style or something. Okay.
See you soon.
Anybody else like to say hello before we go?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Surya Radhika here.
Haribo, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on. There must have been a beautiful function there. So many Prabhupada disciples, huh?
This was
Oh yes,
amazing.
Maharaj, that's really
This
nice.
was really nice.
Maharaj Surya made these Iranian sweets for all the Prabhupada disciples. So
Made what?
these Iranian sweets called Rajiram.
Do you remember, Maharaj, the devotees, the Iranian devotees once made these date balls and you really love them in
Made what?
these date balls.
Oh, date balls.
Yes. So I got the same recipe and
From where?
from Nityangi. Do you remember Nityangi and
Oh,
Siddheshwari?
yes. Those are the Iranian sweet balls, not the
Yeah, the
overnight.
Iranian, yeah, and they called it
yeah.
Raj Iran because we were at the Giriraj and they called it
Oh.
Raj Iran. Yeah.
So you gave them all. Okay.
Yeah, I made that for all the
Wow.
disciples.
That was really sweet, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Amazing. You're marrying a wife that can cook.
Yes, Maharaj.
Smart guy. Okay. Anybody else? Two more and then I go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Hey, Haribo. Okay.
Haribo.
Nice to see you. Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Don K. Lee.
And Jim.
Bhakti Jim.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
Where are you going?
We're in Florida, and
We're in Gainesville.
we're in Gainesville.
We're going to Alachua.
We'll be
Okay. Nice.
we'll be at the Govardhana-pūjā festival there tonight.
Okay, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, and
Nice to see you.
last night we saw Shelter play.
Oh, where?
Yeah, they were in Gainesville. Yeah.
Geriatric hardcore.
It was quite the experience.
Anyway, thank you for class, Maharaj.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Nice to see you, Jim. Okay, one other person? Okay, I'm gonna look at the list, thank everybody, and then I'm gonna head out.